of recording. It's for me to advise that the visual online meeting is being held in the public, and recording will be available for public future record. Number 3, item 3, which is coronavirus public health update. We have with us public health issues with us. Yeah.
Hi,
Councillor. Please sort of update us what's been going on since the last meeting with.
Not at all, I'd be happy to. So as you know, the government has outlined its roadmap out of lockdown. So this is a series of landmarks that have 5-week intervals, and us moving through those different landmarks are dependent on vaccination uptake, pressures on the NHS, the case rates that we're seeing, and any new challenges that might be presented by new variants that come. The good news, and I'm really pleased to be able to be coming here with good news, is that nationally the rates are continuing to decline. We are seeing a small increase in some specific districts in the country, but certainly in Birmingham we're observing that the rates are going down. So our current rate in the last week is 75.7 cases per 100,000 population. And if I compare that with the week before, that was around 88. That equates to just over 800 cases in 7 days. So we're 837 cases in the last 7 days in Birmingham. And that puts us 48th highest in the country in terms of the number of cases that we're seeing. If I look at Birchfield, the rate is actually quite a bit lower than the average in Birmingham as a whole. So in the last week, the case rate was 55.75 per 100,000 compared to the 75 that we saw in the Birmingham as a whole. And that equates to 7 cases that were reported in the last week. When I look at how the demographics of the cases breaks down, we're seeing that the majority of cases in the Birchfield area are in that working age population. So it's our 20 to 39-year-olds age group. 30% of our cases are there, and 34% of our cases are in the 40 to 59 age group. Obviously, work continues at pace in the council and with across a wide range of agencies to address this. In terms of communications and engagement, we've been working really hard to gather a group of COVID champions. We're now at almost 800 COVID champions across the city, and these people have a weekly briefing. There's a question and answer session. We have regular information sharing every 3 days through text or email, and really updating these champions with the latest information so they can talk to different people in their communities about COVID, about vaccine uptake, about testing, and letting us know when those messages aren't landing, what we can do to change and what we can do to improve engagement around that. We currently have 9 of these champions in the Birchfield ward. We're aiming for 11, so if any of you are keen to become a COVID champion, I'd be happy to put the link in the chat after I've finished. Our partners in the NHS, I'm sure you're aware, are working very hard around vaccines. So vaccines are prioritised on age, clinical risk, and whether people are in a care home or NHS clinical staff. We've now just moved on to our priority group 8, which is our 55 to 59-year-olds. So the invites will be going out, and they're the latest group to be offered that vaccine. So if you're invited for a vaccination, you're able to book by the NHS website. And again, I have those links for people if they require. And our colleagues over at NHS in the NHS have got an information on COVID vaccines all on their website, should you have any questions about that. In terms of uptake in Birmingham, we've got really good coverage for our vaccines, but looking at the figures for Birchfield, I can see that the uptake is slightly lower than it is for Birmingham as a whole, and in particular I think the 60 to 64 years age group is quite low in comparison to what we're seeing across the city. In addition to vaccines, as you know, there's a wide range of testing programs going on, and it's really important that that should anyone be experiencing symptoms, they access one of our tests called a PCR test, and you can get those through the government website, through test centres or home testing kits sent to your home. If you don't have symptoms, we're really keen for anyone who's leaving their home regularly as part of a care bubble, a support bubble, or if their children are going to school, or if they go out to work, that they get tests every 3 days. And you can do that through community test centres. The closest for you is Handsworth Wellbeing Centre. You can do it through a range of mobile test sites. And again, we've got one close by in Lozells, the Lighthouse, Alma Way. And there are a number of pharmacies as well that offer the lateral flow testing. And again, I think there's a couple close to you, Aston, and one on Witten Road. We're also signposting different workplaces to the national scheme, so that larger workplaces can get their employees tested at the workplace. And obviously the government is working really closely with schools to get tests there as well. Locally, we are seeing the spread of coronavirus continue through social contacts. So it's mainly spread within households. So if a member of your household does have coronavirus, it's likely that, but not definite, that the members of the household will also get it. There are certainly actions you can take to minimise the amount of spread, enhanced cleaning, so making sure that people have regular slots in the bathroom, if you like, and then cleaning, making sure elderly and vulnerable people are able to eat separately, potentially. Spreads also through workplaces and social contact. It's that letting your guard down when you are outside and perhaps not adhering to the 2 metre distance when you're out and about. I just wanted to finish on talking about variants of concern. All viruses mutate, but there are, and that's a natural part of evolution of the virus. Where variants are called of concern, it's normally because they're either likely to cause a more severe outcome from contracting coronavirus, or they might have mean that the spread happens quicker, and that's certainly the case with the variant that we saw that came through Kent and is now the prime one that we're seeing in Birmingham. Or in some cases it might have an impact on vaccine efficacy. All of the vaccines are current. The evidence is that the vaccines currently that we have in use in the UK are effective in new variants and preventing severe illness in those. And I think that's probably everything that I wanted to tell you in terms of that, but I'm happy to take questions, and if I don't know the answers, I'm happy to take it back, and then through Leslie I will update you that way.
Before I bring any resident, I'm sure they will have a question for you, Elizabeth. I want to know, you mentioned about these champions in the ward. Can you explain what sort of a role they play? And who are these champions? Do you have the names, or do the people of this ward, do they know who these champions are and what they're supposed to be doing?
I can certainly have a look at that information for you. There's a link on our website where anyone can sign up to be a community champion. I'll put that link in the chat for you now. But essentially they receive regular information from us and then communicate that back out, and then also let us know when the information is not reaching their communities, or we could do something a bit better. So happy to encourage both elected members and members of the public to become one of those champions. So I'll just put this in now.
Yeah, well, okay. There was a question I want to ask. You know, seeing on the TV, some of the European countries have banned this vaccine from Oxford. What we are doing to convince people that this vaccine is safe enough for people to have?
Okay, so absolutely, I've heard that too around the vaccines in Europe. So it's important to note that there is a risk of blood clotting within the population anyway, and that risk of having blood clots is higher in an older population, and also people that might have a health condition or be having cancer treatment and those kind of things. So I think if you look at what you would normally expect in the population, it's actually the number of cases that we're seeing in Europe is lower than you would expect anyway. So the cases that came in Europe were 30 cases that were found of blood clots within the 5 million people that were vaccinated. I think if you look at the numbers that we've currently seen coming through through the UK in terms of our figures, we'd expect to have 806 people to have a blood clot anyway within that population. So the numbers are incredibly small. The medicines, so the MHRA have said that in the UK, the occurrence that we are seeing of blood clots is below what we would expect to see. It's not being confirmed that the reports of blood clots were caused by the AstraZeneca COVID vaccine. And we are continuing to monitor that, and our CCGs have locally, we've asked them to provide information so that we can monitor that too. In terms of what we're doing to address that, there's an awful lot of work going on what are the barriers to vaccine uptake. So we've been having focus groups, we've been talking to different people in the community, we've been having like a roadshow of vaccine meetings to really answer any concerns, address any myths that might be circulating. We've also had a number of different vaccine awareness sessions, weekly meetings with faith leaders, targeted local community comms that are through community radio stations, and in lots of radio stations that aren't in English as the first language, and a lot of printed media as well. And obviously the council is working really hard to support NHS colleagues who are the ones that are leading this rollout for the vaccine and feeding back anything that we can to them that might help respond and increase uptake of the vaccine. Okay,
thank you for that. And I'm sure the resident would like to ask you a question. Any resident would like to ask a question? Andrew, you got your hand up.
Yes, thanks, Councillor. Yeah, I just wondered, for people that can't book online and maybe aren't registered with a GP, is there a telephone number that people could ring to actually book a vaccination? I'm thinking here of people that might have moved into the area recently and may not be registered with a local GP, or may not have access to the internet.
There's certainly, I do not have it to hand, but I'm sure there are ways that people that aren't online are able to do it. I know that there's a big programme to try and vaccinate homeless persons, for example. But what I will do is I will go away and ask our NHS colleagues for those details and ask Leslie to put that out to you. So sorry to not have that to hand.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Okay, anyone else? Anyone else would like to ask Elizabeth a question on the report you have just given? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it's just me. Hello, it's Helga. I just wanted to ask you about the news that's been breaking today about the slowdown of vaccinations for is it the under 50s for young people, which is quite concerning, because we find in our area they are the cohort that are less likely to be masked up and sensible and social distancing. So what's the latest on that? Is that something we need to be concerned about?
So I think in this area we've only, I think it's that group 8, which is the 55 to 59s. It's the year group that is getting, the next one to be released. and that's only really quite recent. So I don't expect that to be at full pelt at this stage. I think it's inevitable as they roll out into each of the different categories that there's a little bit of a slowdown while the letters go out, which the letters all go out nationally coordinated actually, and then locally people are able to book on. To be honest, it's too early to say. We're still doing ongoing engagement activity. Honestly, the NHS are going full pelt trying to promote this. And also what we are seeing, I think this is where the mass testing centres, the mass vaccination centres are going to come into their own with this age group, and much more likely to be going to those larger centres like the one that we have at the Villa, than perhaps some of the smaller GP practices or the home visits. So yes, but obviously we're watching to see what happens and addressing as best we can.
Because Birchfield has a very young population and it's very transient and it's not very obliging, I'd say. I mean, there was an incident, councillor, in the paper shop this morning. There was 2 men who were extremely drunk and very, very abusive, who were trying to spit at the chap behind the counter. Thank goodness he'd got his big screen up and I just hid behind the other side of the papers. But it's very unpleasant, and you think there must be a way of trying to work with our residents to say, you need to be vaccinated, it's a good thing, it's not going to make you mad, it's not full of beef, it's not full of pork, you know, all those sort of messages that need to go out in the community.
Absolutely, we're trying lots of different ways to get those messaging out, and also through cultural ways, so using social media, using videos, using communications in different languages. We're trying to not address the mistruths, because that we found that gives it weight. We don't address them. We say the facts rather than saying this isn't, that's not, you know. So we're learning as we go on. We're sharing information. I know that there's across the country, we're sharing how we can best improve vaccine uptake in many different populations, and we're sharing, as soon as we've got something that works, we share it with people so that they can get it too. But these champions are helpful.
I think as well, you know, Mike and Andrew, now the schools are back, because we work so closely with the parents in our community. What else can we do, sort of working through those links that would help spread that message, because it's sort of reinforcing it from the young people into the family, into the, you know, the very varied families that we have around here, about how important it is to be masked up, to be socially distanced, get your jab when you're called, all that sort of stuff.
No, I absolutely agree with you, and we're engaging closely with the schools around testing as well as around vaccines to help get those messages out, because you're right, it's the grandchild saying to the grandparents, to the mother, you really should be doing this, that has a lot of weight as well. Thank you.
Yeah, will do. Yep.
John, you had your hand up. John Rose, you are mute.
Mute. John's microphone isn't working.
Oh. Anybody else got a question, or you want me to move on?
Move on. Move on.
John, can you hear? Unfortunately, I don't think John has been able to.
John's microphone isn't working.
Yeah. Hello, John. John Rose, can you hear us?
Can you speak? Can I hear you?
Yeah, well, I turned my microphone on. John's microphone, he's phoned us to say his microphone is not working.
All right, okay. Well, okay, then in that case, then can I move on to the next item, which is...
Thank you, Councillor Hussain.
Sorry?
I'll leave the meeting now.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Thank you very much for your attendance for this, and thank you for your update. That's very useful.
Cheers. Bye then.
Thank you. Bye now. Thank you very much. Next item is waste management, and we have with us Leslie William. He was here at the last meeting as well, and I think since the last meeting he's got more update for us this time. Let's see what he got to say. Leslie, over to you.
Yes, good evening, Councillor. Good evening, all. Hope you're all keeping well. A little bit of an update where we are currently in waste management. We're just embarking on a recruitment drive because we've got a number of positions that are vacant. And that will be mainly in our street cleansing service. But what we've also been able to do, we've gained some money from central government, and that's going to enhance some of our street cleansing work. What it looks like to us, and we're going to recruit before we do anything with these posts. We're going to have some extra graffiti crews, so there'll be one actually based at Petty Bar Depot, so they can act a bit quicker, get onto graffiti straight away. And we're also taking on some extra dumping crews. So they're going to be bespoke, looking at the dumping that's blighting our city, should we say. And they'll be working in some of the areas that it's quite high. Birchfield is not too bad on dumping, if I'm honest, but it doesn't mean to say there won't be a presence there. What we're also recruiting to is a new system we're putting in place called Love Your City. And what they're going to be doing is engaging with the public more, being out, speaking to people, offering support to recycle, etc. And they'll be carrying out exercises around some of the bigger shop fronts where there's bags being presented by shops, there's dumping out there, there's people living above the shop sticking waste out that we don't know about. And the hope is that a lot more engagement with the public, residents, local businesses will start to see a progressive change to the cleaner streets of Birmingham, which we're all aiming and striving for. Our partners in waste enforcement are also growing in size as we speak, and there'll be some of that resource that'll be working with us hand in hand when we get down like these shop fronts, tackling the issues that have been there for a while, shall I say. You may or may not have noticed we've just took delivery of some new dust carts, and I think I told you that at our last meeting. But since then, we've also took delivery of a new fleet of mini sweepers. So I think we've bought in 31 or in total, and they're all brand new 20 plates. So they're a bit quieter. They do a better job, obviously, because they're newer, and they're less likely to break down. So we can get more work done with those. So all that hand in hand. New sweepers, more people on the streets, more engagements on the streets. Obviously, we've got to get past this little hiccup that we've got around lockdown, etc. But come the summer, we plan to be shooting from the hip and working really hard to engage in the streets around Birchfield and the rest of Birmingham. The performance for the depot, I didn't get any slides to put up, unfortunately, Councillor. I will say that your miscollections for residual and recycling are showing pretty low when we compare to other wards in the city. You're probably around about 10% of what some of the other wards are showing, so it's really, really good. Having said that, the dumping within the ward is still not what we want it to be. So obviously, when we get these crews in and running,
had a busy day.
We come into.
Anyone die? Good.
Sorry.
Does it get to you when someone dies, one of yours?
Oh, I think we're getting John's mark working now. Oh, that's it. Yeah. Just to touch on COVID and what we're doing within our depots. You're probably aware that the lateral testing, and as Elizabeth just said, we're trying to bring it to businesses now to protect staff. In all our depots, we're having our staff tested twice a week, and that's to keep on top and be in front so we don't lose lots of staff to COVID. We've been lucky, working hard and been fortunate this year that we've been able to maintain the services since the first lockdown, nearly 12 months ago now. And we are lateral testing at the Petty Bar Depot twice weekly, so our guys are being tested, and many of our guys now, me included, have the vaccine or the first dose at least. So that's really positive for us. I don't know if anybody's got any questions, or yourself, Councillor. I'm happy to help.
I'm sure residents will have a question for you, Les, but I start off, because I do receive a lot of phone calls, and a lot of emails regarding the street cleansing in general, right? If you drive around in Birchfield ward, you see a lot of litter, you see a lot of broken glass, you see very untidy streets, right? I do understand, with this pandemic, we have a problem where people do go sick and, they're not available and all your resources are not there. But having said that, I still feel that this can be improved because I think, as a councillor, if I walk down the street, I just get embarrassed but looking at the street, you got dumping problem, fly tipping, everywhere. You got these pile of rubbish lying down on street corners. Now, I would thought, when you have your lorries, going around, and if they see there's a pile of rubbish which is being dumped. I mean, to me, I think they should pick it up because they don't have to wait till one of the councillor or somebody rings you, and then you come and pick those up, because that's making a street very untidy and it's not acceptable. That's one thing. The other thing I was, if you remember that when you came the last time, I did say to you, I was really concerned about, sweeping the leaves of the tree. And if you look at the leaves, they have came out. They've done some leaves clearing, but what it is, some of those leaves are basically piled up around the trees and all that, and they're not being swept the way they should have been swept. So can you ask your manager or ask your staff to have a look at that and see if the manager are having a good sweep out, in some of these streets?
Yes, Kate, I think what might be good for us to do is I'll get managers to go out and survey the whole ward, and we can look at some of our hotspots. Dumping it's a second epidemic, unfortunately, that we've got, and it's not localised to Birchfield, Birmingham, or even Britain. It's gone up significantly in the last 12 months. It has come down a bit, but that's what's driven us to take on some extra resource to pick up the dumping. I would love to be able to say the crew stop at every piece they see, but they wouldn't actually get to their place of work. So this dumping crew will be setting out a map of the wards that Penny Barr covers, and they'll have a regime of going around, I think there's 14 wards that the depot covers. Every ward will get some presents, perhaps once a week. And we are looking at using enforcement, using cameras, try and catch the culprits, to stop it at source. With the leaves and that, again, if we survey the ward, I think that will give us a good indication of where our grass spots are and where we need to divert our crews. So I'll get that done for you over the next few days, Kev, and I'll give you a game plan. I'll say.
Another thing, with this lockdown restrictions, I've not managed to call the officers. I have to do a walkabout. But
on there.
Sorry?
Yeah, again, Kev, I'm always keen to come out, and look at the problems on the ground. I'm never been shy away from that.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying, lads. If now the restrictions are getting eased off a bit now, so I can ask someone or your officer either to come up and do a walkabout, in my patch, because I really feel that they need attention, because the general street cleansing is terrible in my ward.
Okay. Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. I've noted that, Council. And what I'll do is we will organise something. I think it's on April the 12th, if my memory serves me right. With the road,
that's right. That's right.
The way the government are saying we can actually meet, and fingers crossed that we keep going the way we are in the country.
Okay.
Just following the 12th of April, we'll get something in, and please, anyone that wants to come along, you're more than welcome to come.
Thank you, Les. Thank you for that. Simon Bedley next, yes.
Okay, it's Lynn actually. Hi.
Lynn. Sorry.
Hi. I was just thinking Birmingham has a pretty poor recycling amount, percentage. Why haven't we got at Sutton? There's a recycling centre where they sell goods that are okay to sell. Why can't we have one of those at Perry Barr?
So just for reference, and I'm not saying we can't, but I'll tell you what's happening at Perry Barr. The whole depot is just about to be regenerated. So they're knocking it down literally from the front gate to the back gate. It's been that big concrete monstrosity is going. It's going to be a 21st century transfer station. I will mention around, I forget what they call it now. It's like a bring and buy, or
Oh yeah,
it's actually a shop. I mean, there's stuff outside, but there's a big indoor store, and you'd be surprised what you see in there. Antiques and all sorts. And I see when we're going around the streets here, we see a lot of furniture and pictures and all sorts put out on the streets that, in actual fact, goes into the dust carts and goes to landfill or to incineration or whatever. To incineration in Birmingham, I suppose. And it's a terrible waste.
Well, I hear what you're saying, Linda, and I for one, and I've worked on the tools, we say, when I was a younger man. There is lots of very good stuff that's thrown away that could be repurposed, reused, etc. So I hear what you're saying. I want to take that to the contractors who are doing that at Perry Barr. If we can have an area that we identify, and it needs to be undercover, because some furniture for people that are just starting out in life, they haven't got the money to buy.
That's right.
I think we could possibly look at something around them lines.
Yeah.
They do job. Sorry.
Oh, excuse me. Now I can't remember what I was going to say because he interrupted.
You've got your backseat driver there. That's what it is.
No, what was I going to say? Hold on. What you say? What you were going to say, and then I'll think what I was going to say.
At Sutton Coldfield, they also have people on apprenticeships
learning to do stuff.
Learning to do repairs.
Yeah.
On material that's brought in. I understand.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to answer that for you, Simon. That I don't know, but I can look at that. If we've got something that just needs a little repair and can be repurposed.
Yeah, and they sell them. They sell them, but at a reasonable cost.
Yeah, I mean, if we could do that and then put the money to a good charity, then it's everybody wins.
I mean, it could go to waste services for goodness sake, and help with the cleaning up, or go to local groups that clean up. Pay for litter pickers and what have you for the local groups.
Yeah, I mean, again, I didn't mention it the last time we met. The Love Your Streets initiative that we're doing. There is, the barrows that the beach sweepers use up and down the main roads.
Yeah.
There is one of them in Birchfield, and anybody can use it. It's got brooms on it, shovels.
A brum barrow.
What, sorry?
Do you mean a brum barrow?
Yes.
Yeah, we've got one.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah,
okay. What we're aiming to do is to get as many residents as possible, and I live in Safe Yardley, and I'm part of my Safe Yardley group, is to get involved in in where we live, and we've set ourselves a challenge in Safe Yardley. Let's pick up 200 bags of waste by the end of March.
Yeah.
We do a bag, take a picture. And we arrange for the council to come and pick them up, so they're not left silently on the street. And it's that kind of thing we want to do in Birchfield, And one of the problems we're seeing is that since the first lockdown, because of everybody being at home, you'd think that the waste would go down, but it's actually going up.
Yeah.
We're seeing again another epidemic of there's a lot of fast food places that are still open. Although you can't go in and eat, people go in, buy, and it's thrown on the street, and we're seeing that up and down.
Lot of building waste too.
Yes, so we are aware of it all. It's just very difficult to tackle it, should I say? But we've made a change of plan, and we're planning to get engaged with groups like some of the resident groups, some of the ward forums, as much as we possibly can to let's all love where we live. Type of thing,
Okay. All right, I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
move on.
Hold
Yeah,
on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
I don't know what you say.
I remembered what I was going to say.
Yeah, come on quickly. The last chance now, because I'm gonna move on.
Right, okay. I was just going to say that going back to the good stuff going to waste, in the dump, the tip, one isn't able to take. Often you see things, if you're visiting to take stuff, you see things that are perfectly good that you would appreciate having, but you're not allowed to take anything.
Again, we don't actually manage that. It's done by our third-party company.
Yeah.
I can ask Riz, and he's probably around health and safety about climbing in that, skips and stuff like that, I would suggest. But let me ask the question, and I'll give it back to the councillor so he can give you a response.
Well, perhaps if it would be a good idea to have an area where good stuff could be put, where not into the big skip things, but just a small area of land where if you had something, you could put it there for people to take.
Yeah, as discussed a short while ago, I'm going to venture that, and hopefully at a future meeting I can come back and discuss
Or
it.
if they have a workshop there, I can go pick up that way.
Okay.
Okay.
You next, okay, then Edstrom.
Ed,
You're next.
Helga, not Edstrom, that's my last name.
Oh, sorry.
2 points. First point is around leaves. Most of the leaves have now managed to dissolve themselves and disappear, but we know as local residents where the grot spots are and where everything starts flooding. So I think we could probably help with mapping that a little bit, because certainly bottom end of Wellsbourne onto Church Hill Road, opposite where I live, floods very, very regularly in very heavy rain. Outside, it might be outside our patch council actually, outside Handsworth Church on Hampstead Road, floods very regularly. There's 2 drains there that are very blocked. There's also some drains blocked at the top of, is it Compton Road, Mike? Somewhere along there. So it might be helpful for you, Leslie, to sort of get in touch with Birchfield Neighbourhood Forum and Handsworth Helping Hands and ask us where we think the spots are. Because when you go out and do your inspections, unless it's tipping it down, you're not going to know. Right. But there are a number of significant drains that do need a lot of work doing. The second point I wanted to make was I live on Churchill Road and I go up and down to Church Vale every single day to get a paper for my husband and a bit of a walk. A lot of the houses on Church Vale have been renovated, tarted up by either their owners or the social landlords. I can, hand on heart, tell you who's been dumping on Church Vale because I can see what the packaging is. Lynn, Simon and I report it regularly to Fix My Street. It's taken away. We've done a lot of work recently on making Church Vale a really lovely place with planters and plants and all sorts. And fingers crossed it will say nice. There's a couple of houses at the top end of Church Vale that have been renovated by somebody I know, and he's doing it very responsibly with skips and proper deliveries, and he's got all sorts of bits and pieces. But there are a number of houses, including a number going through planning at the moment, that I suspect may be starting dumping. And I don't know how we do that and do it in a responsible way, to actually work with the people that are either doing the work in the houses or the owners to ensure they've got skips, they've got stuff that's taken away properly, or stuff that like chairs and tables, Simon, like high chairs and beautiful windows that are just ripped out and just discarded that could be recycled or repurposed. And there's something about the way our community works and the way that we know little bits of our community rather than the whole world that we can actually probably be more impactful on. I don't know what possibilities are in there with that.
Yes.
I know the councillor's got to move on because the meeting's already overrun, obviously because of the hiccup.
Late starting.
Could I request? Obviously, I want to engage with you guys. You're doing a lot, and I want to capture that and work with you. In the chat, if you've got a website, you might have friends of whatever, or an email address. Let's meet outside of this meeting and let's start a bit more together. I mean, you may or you may not have a WhatsApp group. You know, I can join that WhatsApp group and we can have regular conversations and do some regular walkabouts and some tactical stuff together. So we can make the area start looking, you know, cleaner. I could go on for hours, and I'm sure we'll all be in bed before I'd finish. But but you know what I will say is, yeah, I'm more than willing to engage and work with you to improve where we live.
I think it's that micro understanding that we have as local residents. And we can reach out to other residents. I mean, Simon and Lynn have done some fabulous work with the 3 Avenues projects, and we've got contacts there, so we know a little bit. We know a lot about little bits, not necessarily across the whole ward. So I think that reaching out hugely. Thank you. I think that's going to work very well indeed.
Again, you know, if anybody wants me to email them and move something on in the chat, which is at the top. You can only do it now because if you put it in, well, it won't go in after. I can look at the chat after the meeting. I can make some contacts. I mean, failing that, drop Councillor Hussain a note and he'll organise. We'll move on. Instead of me coming to a meeting every 3-6 months, we could almost meet as and when we need to. You know, me and the team from Barr, obviously. And I've got yours, Michael. I've seen that, thank you. Okay, Councillor, sorry to take up so much of your time. I'm obviously very popular tonight. Okay, so you're muted.
Who's saying you're muted?
On mute, Councillor.
You're on mute, Councillor Hussain.
Sorry. Oh, sorry about that. Les, I was saying that, you know, if you organize any walkabout after the 12th of March, April, then please inform me or send me an email so I can join that walkabout with the residents and yourself or whoever is organizing that walkabout, yeah?
Definitely, Councillor, definitely. And anybody else who's willing to, I've got a couple of emails there, which I'll copy now. More than happy.
And with this, on behalf of the Vote Forum, I cannot thank you for coming and updating us. It's very useful. Thank you.
That's no problem at all. Nice to be, and please invite me again.
Can we now welcome Rebecca Barr? She's going to update us on Barr Masterplan. Rebecca, are you around there somewhere?
Yes, I am. Hello, Councillor.
There we go.
Thank you for inviting us. I've also got my colleague Alison with me today. We're going to do a little bit of a double act. Unfortunately, because I'm screen sharing, I now can't see the chat or any of your faces. So what I'll do, if it's all right, is Councillor Hussain, perhaps if there's any burning questions during the presentation, if you want to just interrupt me, or otherwise, what I'll do is we'll run through the presentation fairly quickly, and then I'll put that off the screen and we can do questions afterwards.
Yeah, I'll wait till you finish, Rebecca.
Okay, that's fine. So as Councillor Hussain kindly introduced, we're here to talk about the Barr Masterplan, and I'm conscious that I have spoken to some of you about this previously, but want to sort of bring you up to date on the work that we're now doing and the opportunities to engage further, and to indicate some of the emerging themes. So, as I say, a short presentation. You already know that there's lots going on in the sort of Barr, Birchfield, Alexander Stadium area, so I don't need to talk about that. You probably, in seeing it every day, know more about it than I do. So, you know, lots of existing activity, but I think what I wanted to highlight is that these projects are not a means, a sort of an end in themselves, but actually a means to further opportunities. And what we really want to look at now is how we maximise the benefits of the current projects and of the Commonwealth Games for the city as a whole, but very particularly for people in this immediate area. We know that Birmingham's got some very challenging housing targets. Development plan plans for 51,000 new homes to 2031. We know that that's actually not enough to meet our housing demand. So one of the key opportunities that we have to look at is opportunities for new housing. Perry Barr is identified as a housing, as a growth area in the Birmingham Development Plan, and so we want to maximise that opportunity. We also want to make sure that the master plan aligns with other programmes, so be that the city's Route to Zero programme, the employment and skills agenda, improving health and well-being, levelling up opportunities. So what we're looking to do is create a regeneration framework, which includes a spatial master plan, which we'll talk a little more about next, and also a delivery plan that sets out how that can be delivered. So it's not just about ambitious thinking, it's actually about saying, right, this is what we want to achieve. How are we going to do that? Who's responsible for what? What's it going to cost? What's the time scale for delivery? And that's a really important element of what we want to do. The master plan area, I apologise, this is not a very big map. I have got another version which we can come back to, and I can make the presentation available via Councillor Hussain for people who want that information in more detail. The master plan area goes from the Alexander Stadium and Perry Park in the north, down past Birchfield Island, including parts of Birchfield and Aston Ward in the south. So it takes in the key transport links in the area, it takes in the significant green spaces at Perry Park and Perry Hall Park, it takes in the new residential development, as well as some future plan schemes. We also want to measure and ensure an impact on a wider area. So we have identified a wider area of influence where not only will we seek to extend the benefits of the interventions, we'll also look at other housing opportunities and demonstrate the benefits for that area. Clearly, if you do work just inside the master plan boundary, it's going to benefit people across a wider area. I think on this point, I'm going to hand over to Alison, who's going to cover the sort of objectives of the work and some of the emerging themes as well. And then I'll come back and talk a little more about how we're starting to engage with the local communities and stakeholders.
Sure. Thanks very much, Becky. Evening, everyone. Good evening, Councillor Hunt. Councillor Hussain. I am working with Becky and the team on the master plan, as she explained, from a company called Arup. I'll just run through now some of our kind of emerging thinking in terms of the sort of objectives and themes coming out, and obviously kind of quickly run through the sort of purpose. So within the master plan and supporting documents, we will be setting out a proposed vision for the future of the area. And again, as Becky explained, there'll be lots of opportunities for us to have conversations with yourselves and others in terms of shaping what that vision will look like. It will seek to kind of bring together and sort of consolidate lots of the existing activity underway, so existing plans that are in place and plans in the future. It will sort of establish that kind of clarity around the vision. And as Becky said, it's not just about kind of focusing on the sort of spatial master plan elements, but also kind of thinking about how through the delivery plan and other mechanisms we can ensure that there's inclusive growth achieved as a result, and really kind of tie into wider interventions that will help deliver community benefits. The action plan, delivery plan will kind of set out both things that are already happening, so kind of how we can kind of maximise and sort of optimise the opportunities from what's already happening, from ongoing activity, but also things that will be sort of required to support delivery of the spatial master plan in the future. If we could go to the next slide, Becky, thanks. In terms of some of the emerging themes that we've got on the screen here, we've sort of started having a number of conversations, sort of both internally within the council, with some of the council's partners, and indeed with some sort of external groups as well. And there's sort of key areas of focus that are emerging. These are not sort of finalised in any way, shape or form, will be subject to lots of discussion, but we sort of wanted to share some of those with you now. Firstly, kind of optimising and looking at the remaining phases of the residential scheme in the centre of Perry Barr, just opposite the station, that's sort of already underway, and really thinking about how those future phases will link to and could link to the wider area. Thinking about the local centre and how through this work we can support the creation of as we've said here, a distinctive but also a future-proof local centre. So thinking about kind of what the future will look like and what will be needed now and in the coming years to help support that. Maximising and sort of optimising the sort of opportunities currently around green and blue infrastructure. Perry Barr's rich in sort of open space, but perhaps there are opportunities to better connect those to other parts of Perry Barr, wider neighbourhoods, and sort of encourage greater use of some of those assets. Also identifying some opportunities for early wins. So whilst this is going to be a long-term plan, recognising the importance of multiple types of actions to help realise that vision. So what can be done in the short term, as well as thinking about the medium and long term. And then cutting across all of these themes, some sort of emerging ideas about well-being and sustainability, which will be kind of important aspects of all that sits within the plan. And then the next slide, just to run you through our sort of programme and timescales. So work is underway in developing our sort of baseline evidence base, so thinking about the social demographic characteristics, the current sort of physical assets and baselines, so we understand the starting point, developing our thoughts and ideas around those sort of themes and principles that we have just run through with you now, and ongoing sort of for the rest of this month and into early next month, a series of focused engagement discussions that we'll be holding with sort of particular organisations and groups on a thematic basis, so kind of focusing on particular areas of interest. We'll then be working away during April and May in terms of developing the documentation, the master plan itself, and the supporting delivery plan with a view to public consultation and engagement in June.
Thanks, Alison. So Alison mentioned engagement with stakeholders, and obviously based on the points around emerging themes, we have started that activity. We've started with engagement with stakeholders who are involved in delivery. So, for example, the Combined Authority and Homes England, who are involved in housing delivery, Transport for West Midlands, the West Midlands Rail Executive, and also City Council colleagues, to really understand what's already happening and where the gaps are identified from that side. We're following that with a series of discussions, which we've actually commenced one or two of them with organisations working in the community. So we've worked already with various arts groups, spoken to some of the sports organisations. We're arranging sessions with the various Friends of the Parks. And actually one of the questions for the group today is, are there particular people that you think, or organisations that you think we should engage with? For example, are the people who use Birchfield Big Local, is that a group in itself we should be engaging with, or are there particular users we should be engaging with? At the moment, clearly those events need to be held virtually. It may be that if we get the opportunity to do, particularly on things like the parks, you know, it might, if we can, it would be great to actually go and do site visits and understand the way the parks operate and things like that as well. So really interested in your views on who we should engage with, and are there different ways we could do that. As Alison said, we'll then prepare a draft master plan and carry out some more formal public consultation following the elections, where there'll be an opportunity for everyone to comment and respond. And we'll follow that with a "you said we did" presentational document to go alongside the final version of the master plan, which explains how we've taken those comments into account. So hopefully that's given you a bit of a rundown of our approach, and when we're going to have the key opportunities for engagement. That's not to say that we can't speak to people at other times. It's an ongoing and iterative process developing the master plan, and we want to engage with as many people as possible for them to put forward views. So if it's all right, I will unshare my screen so that I can then see the questions coming through. Helga's got a hand up, and someone put something in the chat about blue and green infrastructure. I don't know, Councillor Hussain, if you want to.
Yeah. Just I just wanted to say before I bring
Helga.
Sorry?
Helga.
I'm called Helga.
Helga.
Yeah, that's my name.
Yeah. Okay.
What, do you want to say something?
Yeah. You're all right. You can say something. Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Having been a senior civil servant for 42 years and delightfully retired on the 31st of March last year, I'm struck as always by the top-down approach to all of this and the lack of the voice of the local community and the presumption, and it's not, I'm not being rude, far from it, absolutely. All of our jobs to do, the presumption that state knows best, local knows nothing. You desperately need to speak to Birchfield Big Local. You desperately need to speak to Birchfield Neighbourhood Forum. You desperately need to hear the voice of the local people who live in the area, who are severely impacted by everything that's going on. There's stuff that goes on in isolation to your big plan that may have a massive impact on quality of life of the residents in our area. We looked at a outline plantation for Highlands Garden Centre for a significant number of houses that potentially may be built on that site, which will have an impact on how that part of Birchfield works. Birchfield Big Local, I'm a partner there, and Andrew, please put your hand up and come in. We are investing a significant amount of money into Birchfield, into a lot of organisations and individuals. We are looking to grow particularly social enterprises as a route to employment for our local people. Yeah. Lots of things. And Rebecca, I know you, we know each other, but I'm saying that from a very local community perspective, is that there's big stuff has to be done, but it's the impact on our local community. One thing that struck me hugely was something that John Tye said to me around the changes to Calthorpe Road and the way that the traffic works there has disempowered an awful lot of our elders who are now frightened to walk along that part of the road because the buses don't work as they used to. You can't get across the road at that point anymore. And it seems to a lot of our community that stuff is just happening and suddenly happens without it being part of something which is understandably planned. One older lady said to me, she, you know, COVID outstanding, she feels frightened now to leave her house because she doesn't know where to go to get the bus. She can't go to her hot meals place anymore because she doesn't know where the bus stops because you've changed it all. So she feels really trapped in her house. So it's those sorts of the voices you hugely need to listen to. And I think on behalf of all of us here today, we are hugely keen to talk to you and for you to access our community and access the voices of our individuals to tell you this stuff that matters, rather than it be the hugely important big stuff that happens, you know, along the A34 and the buses and everything else that goes on. And you know, I don't give a hoot about the one stop, to be honest. They'll survive or not survive, but it's the quality of life which is so important.
Thank you, Helga.
Thanks, Helga. That's exactly what I want to hear, to be honest. You know, that's why we're here to listen to those points. And perhaps, Helga, we could touch base outside of the meeting to talk about how we achieve some of that.
I think through the community groups that are here, through
that's what we'd like to do.
Andrew and Simon and Lynn on Hands with Helping Hands, who've got a superb insight into how our community works.
That sounds brilliant.
Yeah, maybe the three of us together. Yeah,
that sounds great. We'll involve our comms lead as well, Tess, who unfortunately couldn't join us tonight, but she's helping us on all the engagement side of things. So yeah, I think that sounds great. We'll touch base outside the meeting, Helga. That'd be fab.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Andrew, you're next. Andrew. Can't hear you.
Okay, there we are. I hope you can hear me now. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think one of the things, I mean, obviously Birchfield, I appreciate Birchfield is just one small part of the master plan, but I think one of the issues here that's been raised time and time again is this: there's a lot of pressure on housing, you know, and you know, I've noticed this as part of the, you know, the master plan, a lot of emphasis on housing, but Birchfield is a very densely populated area, and we've lost a lot of space in just recent years to housing. You know, so for example, we had 100 houses built on the Birchfield Road, Birmingham Municipal Housing Association. You know, there are other spaces that are being built on. Again, it's housing. So and the question is, what about the community facilities? Where are the facilities for the community? And in particular, there's a real shortage of open space in Birchfield for children to play. There's a real shortage of venues for community activities to take place. So I feel that there does need to be, you know, there does need to be some engagement and in terms of what can be provided in terms of community facilities, you know, wider community facilities that will help, you know, with people's health and well-being, because we can't just have housing everywhere. Yeah.
Completely support what you're saying there, Andrew. Housing is no good without the things that wrap around that to provide people the best quality of life. So the key that we need to realise through the master plan is the ability to do both of those things, and to identify what the opportunities are to deliver community, commercial, health, well-being, education, all of those things that people need, you know, space to work, space for families to relax, all of that stuff also needs to be provided, and that's a really key part of what we need to achieve. So completely on board with that, and would love to talk to you more about it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Rebecca, I don't see any other hands up. And what I wanted to ask, I think it's already been asked by Helga and also Andrew. One of the things I would like to mention at this point, Rebecca, which is when this master plan was agreed by the cabinet, I used to sit on the cabinet at that time. And I rightly remember, and I raised that, you know, when you implement this master plan, then what we would like to see, those shops on corner of Wellington Road and Birchfield Road, would be revenated or something to be done to them. And the cabinet member at the time, which was Tyre Ali, and he was a member of parliament now, and he did sort of committed that, when they will implement, they will try to do something with those shops. But now with this Commonwealth Games going on, and also the lot of activities, lot of developments going on around there, but I don't see any activities going on or any sign of those shops or those flats getting anything done about it. Because I strongly feel if you're going to improve everything around that and leave that as it is, it's going to be an eyesore.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Hussain. I absolutely take that on board. It's interesting, actually. I was in a conversation about that very point yesterday afternoon, looking at the opportunity that site could offer. Obviously, it's got people's apartments, people's flats there. It's got businesses operating there. And what we were talking about was how we would phase any redevelopment to ensure that we can support a local centre to continue operating. But it's absolutely on the agenda, and it's something that we would look to identify as a future phase of development through the master plan.
Right. Thank you very much. And if there's no any further question to you, Rebecca, can I take this opportunity to thank you for coming here and attending this meeting and giving us this very useful update. And I think the what you said in your reply about engaging with the community, and that's what I like to see. You see that you actually talk to the people who get affected by all these changes. And I think when you're saying that you're going to meet Elga and also Andrew and people from Big Local and Neighbourhood Forum, and also, and I think these are the organization which operates voluntarily in my ward, and they're doing a very useful job.
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity, Councillor Hussain. It's been really interesting, and I'm looking forward to continuing working with the people represented here and other people that they can, or yourself or others, can introduce me to.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and you have a nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
So we move on to the last items, which are basically, we welcome Neil DeCosta, and he's going to talk about Commonwealth Games Fund and also the Neighbourhood Network scheme. Neil, if you're with us, oh yeah, you're still with us, I can see you.
Good evening, everybody.
Just update us what's going on, Neil, and it was over to you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Hussain. Good evening, everybody. Apologies if my name isn't showing up on my screen, so I do apologise. So I'm going to start off by providing a little bit more information on the fund that was launched last week. It's the Commonwealth Games Celebrating Communities Fund. So just to say that I don't work for the Commonwealth Games team, and I'm just presenting this on behalf of for Councillor Hussain, so residents have an opportunity to kind of understand more about the fund. So forgive me, I'm going to try and play, if my computer allows me to do it and you can hear it, a video, and then I'll just explain a little bit more. So if you can just tell me whether you can hear the audio. If not, I'll present a presentation, Councillor Hussain. So I'm going to play it now. Just tell me whether you can hear it.
No, we can't, Neil.
We can't hear anything.
Okay, that's fine. Apologies about that.
Okay, not to worry.
We'll go to Plan B.
Yep.
Okay, hopefully you all can see the presentation. So the Celebrating Communities Fund, this is a fund that was launched by Birmingham City Council, and it's in celebration of the Commonwealth Games coming to Birmingham. And what it is, it's going to provide residents and stakeholders with an opportunity within their local wards to use a fund which is available within Birchfield ward. Just so you're aware of the amount that's available within Birchfield ward, it's £17,500, and there are 2 rounds of the fund. So the first £17,500 will be available to community groups and stakeholders, and that will be between March, because the fund has been launched, right the way up to June. And then there'll be a second round, which will go from October this year, and it will close in January of 2022. So the fund is available, and wards, if you like, and the groups within wards can consider 3 themes that are linked to the Commonwealth Games. So there's the Get Active theme, Resi Steady Fun, and Celebrating Culture. Now, these next slides just kind of go in a little bit more detail in terms of the 3 themes. So the Get Active theme is about encouraging communities to get out and get active by participating in sports and recreational activities. And I understand that at the present moment in time during the pandemic, that it's very, very difficult, if you like, to start thinking of that. But hopefully, with the vaccination programme, as the year progresses, we will be in a position where wards can start thinking about, with their organisations and communities and what have you, some of the activities that they might want to do around this theme. The next theme is Ready Steady Fun, and is Ready Steady Fun. Apologies about that. Okay, so again, it gives wards and citizens within an opportunity to start thinking about lots of different creative things that they're either already doing or that they would like to do. And it gives an opportunity for communities to come together and celebrate their areas and also the different things that are important to them within their communities. And the third and an important one, considering the diversity of all of our wards within Birmingham, particularly Birchfield, is celebrating culture. Birchfield, as you know, is culturally diverse, so then that gives a real opportunity for you to consider cultural activities, those that reflect the wards. So in a nutshell, there's an opportunity here. There's some grant funding that's coming into your ward. As I say, £17,500 per round. Now, the wards will need to, if you like, set their priorities in terms of the types of things that are important to you as citizens that you would like to see being used as a mechanism to celebrate the Commonwealth Games coming to Birmingham. What will happen, organisations will have the opportunity to submit applications to the ward. And once the applications have been appraised, and they'll be appraised by the team that I work within called the Neighbourhood Development and Support Unit. So we will appraise the applications and then we will do this in liaison with Councillor Hussain. But what will happen is, once those applications have been approved, they will come to a ward forum, which will have a theme, a specialist theme around the Celebrating Communities Fund. And then those that are in attendance, so citizens and stakeholders linked to Birchfield Ward, will have an opportunity to vote for those projects that they would like to see delivered within their wards. So that's the mechanism on how it will work. So it's not a large amount of money, but it is significant. You can do some significant things. We will be having applications that kind of range anything from £0 to £1,000, and then also there'll be an opportunity to to bid for higher sums of money, but it's down to the ward in terms of the scope of those applications. So that's the Celebrating Communities Fund. That's a really quick whistle-stop tour, and I'm quite happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I don't think anybody have raised hand to ask question, Neil. So you can carry on to the next item, which is a neighbourhood network scheme.
Yeah, just bear with me one moment, Councillor Hussain. Okay, everybody. Councillor Hussain wanted me to update you on Perry Barr Neighbourhood Network Scheme. So some of you who are on the call are aware of the Neighbourhood Network Scheme, and people like Andrew, because Andrew sits on the partnership steering group. But I just wanted to give you an overview of the Neighbourhood Network Scheme and where we are at the present moment in time in terms of delivery. So Neighbourhood Network Schemes, they've been running now in Birmingham for about the last 2 years, just over, and they're funded by Adult Social Care. And the reason why they were set up is because Adult Social Care changed its delivery model to a prevention first model. And the reason for that is to allow social workers and the social worker services to kind of source local provision when there was a need, an adult social care need within communities. Now, the Neighbourhood Network Scheme principally focuses on persons that are 50 plus. And as I say, we've been running the pilot now for 2 years. Now, the first year was just about kind of embedding the scheme. And the key people, I facilitate it for Perry Barr constituency. We've got a social work team manager, Andrea Housen. We've got a commissioning manager from Adult Social Care, and there are a number of other officers, Michael, Lucy, Jenny, who support me in regards to the Neighbourhood Network Scheme, and BVSC are involved as well. And we've got a new community network support officer. And I'm pleased to say that Councillor Hussain also supports the Neighbourhood Network Scheme as well. So I've just listed some of the activities that we've done for the last 2 years. But what I'd like to say is that COVID-19 obviously has impacted greatly on our delivery over the last year. And we had to change from providing grants and opportunities through local organisations to emergency assistance and emergency support for people who were in need because of the pandemic. So a lot of the organisations that potentially could have been grant funded and were grant funded to deliver activities and programs within communities, they had to change their provision to support the emergency need. And Birchfield Bid Local, and Andrew can obviously talk about some of the provision that he's delivered, and there are many other organisations that have done an unbelievable job in terms of supporting our vulnerable communities. The last thing that I just want to say, because this is a little bit of a, as I say, a whistle-stop tour in terms of the Neighbourhood Network Scheme, is that as we emerge from lockdown, what I would like to do is to engage more with the groups within Birchfield to look at the opportunities that we've got to support the activities that are going on at the present moment in time through grant funding and development opportunities, but also I would like you to get in touch with myself in terms of some of the emerging need that has arisen because of COVID-19, and not only that, to look at some of the opportunities that we've got to enhance things that are happening at the present moment in time. So I've just listed some next steps, and as I say, there's an opportunity here in terms of the Neighbourhood Network Scheme and in terms of activities and services for persons aged 50 plus across some of your ward priorities for you to get actively involved. So I would really like to hear from you, and I'm quite happy to provide you with any more information that you want to know about the network scheme. So I'm quite happy to answer any questions on Celebrating Communities Fund or the Neighbourhood Network Scheme, Councillor Hussain.
Yeah. Any questions? Looks nobody wants to ask a question, but anyway, I got one question for you, Neil. Is it okay?
That's fine, Councillor Hussain.
Yeah, you see, one of my constituents rang me the other day, and he's partially blind, and he asked me if there's any grant is available locally to help him with his activities or what he wants to do. And he also mentioned that he's receiving some sort of grant through Birmingham Focus, which is based in Harborne, and they deal with that sort of work. So is there any opportunity or any possibility for him to tap into any funding with your scheme, or if you can direct him somewhere?
Yeah, Councillor Hussain, I'm quite happy to get some more details in regards to that individual, and to also find out whether he's already connected to our adult social care team, because they may be able to do an assessment depending upon what his needs are. So I'm quite happy to take the gentleman's details to look at what his support needs are, and to try and link him to our services, or any opportunities that the Neighbourhood Network scheme might afford.
Yeah. So what I will do, I will ask him to send me, or send yourself an email, and with outlining his issues, and with all further details which you required, and then obviously you can communicate directly to him.
That's fine, Councillor Hussain.
Right. Okay. Anyone else want to question? Mike Tiger hand up. Mike.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can't see myself, so I don't know whether I am on or not. But yeah. Okay. I put a little note on the chat to say that this morning the CCG, Sandwell and West Birmingham, were talking partly about social prescribing, and they mentioned that there were social prescribing workers in this area. I don't know who they are. Are they anything to do with what you, Neil, have been talking about?
Really good question, Mike. The social prescribers, they do link into the Neighbourhood Network scheme. So we help them to identify local provision, for people that need to be referred into local activities and what have you. So that they are. Sapphire McCalla is the lead for the CCG. I'm quite happy to forward you Sapphire's details. I was on that call for an hour this morning as well, because the CCG are looking to link more closely with local communities. So yeah, happy to provide you with those details, Mike.
Yeah, because we do have, the Neighbourhood Forum has a project, community garden project on the Livingston allotments, and we really do need to get it moving now in preparation for the summer. So yeah, that would be a good link. I was just looking at mini digger hire while you were chatting, and since we haven't got the manpower.
Mike, just to stay on that one, again, I'll be contacting you when our budget hopefully is reinstated in April, because again, through Birchfield Neighbourhood Forum, you and also Livingstone allotments, you will have or provide the opportunity for local people to get involved in activities, so you will be eligible for the grants through the Neighbourhood Network scheme as well. So Sapphire may not be able to help you with that, but I certainly can.
But I did notice that even if you submit something now, you're not going to know until next October whether you've got it.
We might be at cross purposes in terms of funding streams. That's not the case with the Neighbourhood Network scheme, but we can talk more about that outside the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay, thank you for that. Anyone else? No. Okay, well, finally we got, I don't know whether we still got Carl Reindl with us. If he's with us.
Sorry, does my hand not show that it's been up for the last 10 minutes?
All right, sorry about that. I haven't seen your hand
on the screen. This is all part of the problem.
Okay. All right, sorry about that. Apologies. Shoot off, Simon.
Okay.
I was just going to ask, was Neil just talking about this social fund, or other money that's available, or the general budget that's available for sort of adult social?
Okay, Neil.
Hi, Linda and Simon. Sorry about that. Just to say,
Neil, by the way, I'm sorry I said who are you, but I didn't have anybody's screen. I just heard a disembodied voice.
Simon, don't worry. I realised afterwards that my name wasn't showing, so apologies. So you wasn't to know. Don't worry. Okay, so I'm not talking about the adult social care budgets directly. This is specifically Perry Barr Neighbourhood Network scheme.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
In
That's
that
fine.
case, what I was going to say is irrelevant.
Right. Can I move on now? Thank you. Thank you. Is Carl Randall still with us?
It's gone. It's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah. According
Okay.
to the chat, he's gone.
I wanted to ask him a question.
Okay, if he's gone, then obviously, okay, if he's gone, then he's not available. So we move on to the final item, which is a matter of local concern. I think we.
On the hand.
Councillor Hussain, can I just say, everybody, if there are any questions for Carl, because I'm still on the call, I'm quite happy to to take them myself and Leslie, and we can pass them on and get back.
Neil, if you could email him tomorrow for me, please, and ask him. The question I asked him at the last meeting about Churchill Road, when that's going to be resurfaced. Yeah. And also the upgrading the street lights in Bracken Road. So you might have some update on that. So if you could find out for me, please.
Will do, Councillor Hussain.
John has a question.
John?
Question for him. Is John still there?
Yes, but my microphone's not working.
It is.
Exactly.
We can hear you. I can hear you.
We can hear you now.
Oh, I see.
Come on, shoot off, John.
The question I parked with Simon was for Carl. So maybe we can hold it till next time.
Yeah.
Oh, and if I'm still on, could I request that for next time, somebody, don't know who, does a bit of homework on a tutorial on how to work this Teams thing, or even better, the Zoom thing. I really, it reflects badly on us if we can't get this, not professional but tidy. End of rant.
John, I think Neil and Leslie will be making a note of your comments, and they will make sure that they address your concerns.
Certainly, John.
Okay. So with this, can I thank everybody?
I need on my Apple computer to use this bloody thing. Sorry, my language, but it's so frustrating when
I know.
With Zoom, and this one. Half the time the thing freezes, then I can't raise my hand. Sorry, bent over, right?
Okay. With this, can I thank everybody, all the residents, for participating and attending this meeting. I think it's been a very useful meeting. Apart from the beginning, we had a bit of a inconvenient, but anyway, that's happened, and. Thank you very much for your attendance, and
Is there any other business?
Well, you want to raise something, Norman?
Can I just raise this, and I don't know if other people can hear me. We do a lot of time when we're talking, with your help, Councillor Mahmood, planning applications.
Right, okay.
When we go to the Birmingham City Council planning website, we like to see obviously that our objection or comment has gone in, but also, as happens in all other authorities in the country, that all objections or comments can be seen by a person who goes to the website. That is not so. Lynn, you want to just say a bit more?
Yeah, I wanted to see planning applications for a particular property. I went online. There are several references on the Birmingham website to how comments all have to be available for public viewing. However, there's no way of viewing them. I got in touch with Peter Barton in planning. He gave me, he said, you have to make an email request. Here is the link, the email address that you have to write to. So I wrote to the email address. I got back a freedom of information request answer, saying your freedom, your inquiry is being dealt with, and we'll get back to you in like how many working days? 21 working days or something. 21 days. Now, this isn't a freedom of information matter, because it is the law that all those comments have to be publicly available.
Agreed.
Yeah. And I've been chasing this up. I've now sent, I've sent a letter then to Peter Barton saying this is not freedom of information. And I had, sorry?
About normal transparency.
Yeah, it's about normal transparency. And anyway, my last letter to Peter Barton I've sent to the leader. He's passed it on. Peter Barton's passed it on to the deputy leader. I've had no reply back from either of them. And it's an absolute disgrace, because the normal way before was that you had to go into the council offices to view these comments. Well, just about every other local authority puts all the comments on their website. I checked out a number of other local authorities, and yeah, there they are. You can just access the comments. But Birmingham, no, you can't even get them emailed to you or anything. So what's going on? Why aren't they publicly available like they're supposed to be?
Okay, Lynn, what we do, I'm gonna ask Neil or Leslie if we could write to the director of planning and ask him that you have raised these concerns at these meetings, and we need a response and answer to that. And once we hear from this planning director, then obviously we will take that further. Okay?
Yeah, it's actually illegal to withhold.
Well, we will. I will ask Neil. I will ask Neil to write an email on my behalf to this planning director, and on the lines you just outlined.
Yeah, I mean, the point was that with the freedom of information feedback that comes to you, the date by which it would be received would be the date after the thing had been the thing had been decided anyway.
Okay, we hear what you're saying here, but you know, we have to take it up with someone responsible more than Peter. Okay.
Well, I think Birmingham City Council leader is a bit more responsible.
Well, if you want me to talk to the leader, I will talk to the leader.
Please.
Well, I've emailed him. I've sent him a copy of the email.
But there you are. If you email him, if you already have emailed him, then you wait for his response.
Well, I copied him in. I copied him into an email.
Yeah, right. Now, I think you should directly email him.
Right, okay.
When you copy someone in, this is just for their information.
Yeah.
But if you directly email him,
right,
he's obliged to answer to your email.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Right, he will do that. He will do that.
Okay.
And I think that's what that's what we should do, and that's the protocol. You know, if you're not getting any satisfactory response from the officers, then obviously that is the route you have to take. Yep.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And with this, can I thank everybody, all the residents for attending this meeting, and I hope you found it very useful meeting. I think we had a very positive updates this evening from all the officers.
Oh dear, he's not hearing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, all. Thank you, Councillor Hussain. Good night, all.
Yeah. Okay, bye now. Neil, are you still there?